It's your boy, Agent 407, aka Agent Orange, looking like Scott Storch for some reason right now. Anyways, I love talking about wrestling, and people are asking me what do I think led to AEW and the high spots and all this stuff. I think it's a lot of things, but one thing I do think people need to focus on is the impact of certain moves being so over that it encompasses like an entire person's career. One person that I always think about, one person that I really think is talented but is overshadowed by his move, and the one that I think changed the world was Petey Williams, right? You might think of him as Maple Leaf Muscle when he was with Scott Steiner, but literally the thing about Petey was, I think the Canadian Destroyer in a way kind of ruined his career. So let's go back, after the fall of, ECW, the fall of, WCW, and more importantly, the fall of World Wrestling All-Stars from Australia, we saw the debut of one of my favorite promotions of all time, and people think I'm weird for loving it, but I love TNA, Total Nonstop Action. Vince Russo came up with that stupid name, but literally, it was Total Nonstop Action. I loved it, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, people that I really, really liked, and one of the big things was Team Canada, right? And there was a member named Petey Williams, right? The thing about Petey was, I think he was overshadowed by his small stature. He's a tiny guy, but he's ripped to hell, right? But he came up with a move that kind of overshadowed everything about him. It was known as the Canadian Destroyer, the flip pile driver, right? What people often notice, if you're anybody that's kind of smart about wrestling, you notice it takes two very athletic guys. What it is, it's like he goes for a pile driver, but it's really the guy that's getting the pile driver that's doing a front flip, right? So that guy has all the athleticism where Petey just makes sure you don't land on your neck, right? So you need two very athletic guys to do it. But when the first time I saw it, and the first time anyone saw it, because it's so surprising, oh my fucking God, he's in a flip standing pile driver. That shit looks amazing. And we got bloodthirsty for it. Every time you saw Petey, he had to do it. He had to do it because everyone wanted to see it. Even in matches, if you remember in TNA, matches he'd get disqualified or he'd lose, Team Canada would lose, he'd still manage to do it. Because if you didn't see it as a fan, you thought you were robbed, right? So as this happens, the Canadian Destroyer gets over, but Petey doesn't get over. The move gets over. People don't think about Petey, they think about the move that he does, right? And it just kind of led to this idea that you could have a career without speaking, without doing much. And I love Petey because him and Scott Steiner is fucking funny. Look up the old Scott Steiner, Maple Leaf Muscle with Scott Steiner promos. Incredible. Look up the Steiner Math one where he's just standing there, he doesn't try to laugh. Steiner Math, look that up. Anyways, it was one of those things where people began to notice you didn't have to speak well, you didn't have to have a good gimmick. A lot of these newer guys, they got into the idea that moves are important, that high spots are important. Oh, I gotta get my shit in. I gotta do my fucking 450 splash on the table. I gotta go do my fucking pile driver that I do from a front flip. Things like that were just things that got over. But the problem was there's no more psychology anymore. People think it's so hard to do wrestling these days. No, bullshit. The South made it really easy. You have faces and heels, right? You have a good guy and you have a bad guy. You don't have a guy that at the end of the day, his move is so important that he has to do it on anybody. What's the point of that? Then it's he can't ever get over. He can't ever sell himself. People always think about the move. And unfortunately, the Canadian Destroyer became this thing that kind of became a signifying point to me where I think people were it just has to look cool. Doesn't matter if there's any psychology behind it. Doesn't matter if there's any buildup. Doesn't matter if the move makes any sense, right? I'm kind of with Jim Cornette in some ideas where it's any move that looks like there's too much cooperation between the two people makes it really hard because why would they help each other if they're opponents, right? So the Canadian Destroyer kind of, to me, started to make things more, about the actual, how people got over because of the offense. And I'm the first one to tell you, my favorite wrestler My favorite wrestler during those days was Nova, who just put in a bunch of shit together. Him and Chris Chetty had one of the most cooperative moves that Jim Cornette was talking about, the tidal wave, where they both kind of like jump at the same time. It looks really fake, but I love it, right? But that's what the people like my age got over on and people like, and that's why you see so many wrestlers today that are into that style, right? But the problem is, psychology is dying, right? So many wrestlers now are getting super hurt. You look at a guy like, Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega can't wrestle like that. He's damn near paralyzed. You know what I mean? You're looking at, the Young Bucks. Young Bucks, they'll never get signed by a major company because nobody understands what the hell their matches are. And nobody gets their gimmick. What is their gimmick? Their wannabe Hardy Boys or the Shawn Michaels? What is that? Doesn't make any sense. But the Canadian Destroyer was a turning point in wrestling where it literally became moves can be bigger than the wrestler. And that's not good. That's just my 2 cents. And you hear my washing machine in the background because I got dirty clothes.